hours between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. with a cave carrot. You make an
Brad
old girl
one,
very
one,
happy.
one.
Bye. How old is she anyway?
Where's
Picture doesn't make her look very old.
Ramus?
The mayor looks old. She looks like
Spectate.
40 years younger than him.
You're gonna fuck
He's in a vigilante.
I suppose I can take some time out of my busy day to...
He doesn't need money, he's in a vigilante.
It's gonna be pretty hard to get one. I have to bring up my items menu and then select it. Okay, here we go. She greets me at the door. She must know I have what she wants. And she wants a few things. Oh, you brought the cave carrot. Thank you so much, Mr. Mumps. Just Mumps is fine. You don't have to call me Mister. Not like I'm the mayor. I'll just throw it on the ground there for you. Go ahead and pick it up. This looks great. I almost want to eat it myself. You do whatever you want to do, Marnie. Almost. I hope it wasn't too much trouble. I really do appreciate it. It really wasn't much trouble at all. In fact, I have 998 more if you want more. Any thoughts after the cave carrot? Thanks again for helping me out. You're welcome. And my goats say thanks too. I do not believe that. Well, whatever. Here's another cave carrot. This one you can eat. Oh, I guess I'll take it. Well, she liked the first one. Typical, sending me mixed signals. Well, despite not liking it, she's all the way up to 4 hearts now. Yay!
Yeah, right click.
Once we're up to 6 hearts, we do get a heart event, but that's only if the mayor is at 6 hearts as well. Currently, he's not at 6 hearts because he's going through a rough divorce right now. Hi, Mayor Lewis. Here on business, eh? Well, I kind of am actually, yes. I need you to be at 6 hearts immediately. Thank you. And tomorrow we can look at a new heart event. Hey, George, how you doing? Would you like a diamond? Thanks. A man of few words. And fewer steps. Hopefully this heart event still works after messing with Lewis's relationship status. Yes, it seems to be working. As I sneak up behind them. Marnie, we can't. If word got out, it could undermine the position of my authority in the town. There's only 12 people here. I wouldn't worry about it.
Through it again
nice hiding spot, by the way.
Now that you know, like, not to create some fat person.
She seems upset with that. You understand, don't you? Marnie only understands one thing, and that's that sweet, sweet mustache. You care too much about your job, Lewis.
How big was the demo?
Not really in Stardew Valley. That's really all he's got. But yes, I understand.
That's not why
to keep us a secret. He's not going to be very happy with me in a few days.
What Fallout? Is that 30
Apparently
gig?
I scared them walking up. Not that they're hiding particularly good. It's okay, guys. I'm great with secrets. Mumps, you overheard everything, didn't you? Yes, and I'm going to tell everyone. Sob, I can't believe you would do that. You should know me by now. You're terrible. I am. Why were you hiding there anyway? Good question. I have no idea. I just ran away. I guess that's the end of that. Anyways, that was a short and sweet heart event. On to the next one. Marnie, I want you to know that was very awkward. You can use a scythe to cut feed from grass. Yes, after having a farm for 7 years, I had no idea of that fun fact. Or you can buy it from me, of course. I'd rather not. Your hay is way overpriced. I could use the cash. Anyways, because I'm so good with relationships, Marnie's up to 8 hearts after that little event. And here we go, the brand new mod heart event, never before seen by myself. As I slowly walk up to Marnie, who's staring at her hay. Oh, good morning, Mr. Mumps. Good morning, Marnie. What brings you here so early? I came to see you.
Nothing.
And I wanted to make Mayor Lewis jealous. Oh, is that so? Well, actually, now that you're here, there's something I wanted to talk to you about. Go on. I know this is kind of an awkward topic, but I want to be honest with you, Mr. Mumps. I don't think there's any reason to be feeling awkward about anything. I just did marry the mayor of town and divorce him, and he's 40 years older than me. You knew that Mayor Lewis and I separated a while ago, correct? Well, I did marry him after that, so yeah, I do. The reason it happened was, well, Marnie, I know the reason. It's not a big secret. I thought that Mr. Lewis had fallen in love with you, Mr. Mumps. Boy, did he. He was not happy when I divorced him. You two had seemed to be getting along so well lately, and Mr. Lewis seemed so distant whenever he was with me.
Are you watching someone like role
That's because I'm better than you, Marnie.
Yes, he is.
I just heard him say something like, you know the reason I'm not married to her anymore.
Yeah, he's up
I have
here.
to come there. I have to fucking drive to where you are and slap the shit out of you. Watching some gay ass shit.
Just I love you, and I love you. Anyways, I saw that like some of the original, like, do you remember like the old Boogie videos, like the Air 37?
The Francis.
The Francis stuff.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, that was like getting hit, and I was like, this is classic YouTube.
That
This is what
Jontron?
YouTube. How you
Straight
gonna
up
demonetize
demonetized.
that?
It's like revising.
Did you hear about the debate he had with
Yeah.
Destiny?
And then there was this recent ad gate with I don't know if
Yeah.
you saw it. So, did you see that weird? I don't know. I've not been
Elsa
caught.
shit?
Straight me, yeah.
Huh?
Elsa Gate.
Was it Elsa? Was that weird like
Why'd you hate Destiny?
child ring
Yeah.
stuff?
Yeah,
What the hell was that about?
Bro, I've been talking about that for so fucking long.
Would you
Have you? I remember.
And
Are you
we
talking
made,
about when like the kids?
the Bradberries
Yeah.
and Spider-Man and Elsa. Now it's like
It's been a year.
I have mixed feelings on that because I feel like I made 3 videos about that a year ago. And
Wait, why do you hate
I
Destiny?
feel like as a result, they were just like, fuck this guy talking shit about YouTube.
Do you think
And
so?
Kind
Is
of.
there something you did you don't like?
Our channel got shit on. There's no question about it. Like a year ago, when we were in LA for a moment,
why?
our channel got fucked.
I do remember you guys were like upset about it.
It's better. It's better now.
Yeah.
They changed some of their policies that are way more fair now, to their credit. But now they're acting like, oh my god, this huge problem about fucking pedophiles on YouTube. Who could have possibly known that?
But it was even weirder than
we
the
weren't the
Elsa
only ones
stuff.
talking about it either.
No, because I feel like the other one was
It's-
just like kids videos aimed, or like videos aimed at kids that were weird,
Sexual, though.
sexual. But that's different. This was a whole nother level. This was like
Well,
actual kids.
But it's all connected.
I guess
I
it's all
feel like
connected.
it was obvious that this was gonna be a
There
part
was
of it.
very
The
sexual
weird side of
videos. There was very
Yeah.
sexual videos.
I don't
we
like
were
him that much.
watching
He's
back
alright.
then.
He does some good
Of
debates.
like, you know,
I like.
fucking women in thongs.
Yeah, he talks to like
and
everyone.
like the
Talked to
cartoon I remember
Jontron
we watched of Spider-Man
about fucking-
tackling Elsa off a toilet and like
Yeah,
basically
yeah.
raping
Um,
I
her.
remember because you showed
Immigration.
me them. I remember I came to your house one time. and you were
Jontron
like,
said a
"Now,
load
look
of
at
stuff that
this."
was very racist.
One, where'd you find that, Ethan?
Yep.
That's what I do,
Two,
baby.
that really is the.
He
that
said
freaked me out
that
in
rich
the
black
video.
people
I-
commit
the
more
thing
crime
that's
than
frustrating
poor
me,
white people.
Honestly, is I feel like nobody.
He said that was a fact and that
there's
Destiny
a
should
lot
look it
of
up.
great people at YouTube.
Destiny
And
was
over
just
time,
like,
we've got to know
what?
more people from Google and YouTube, and they're all
Have you?
It's
super-
not.
Yes, they're great people. They care and they work hard. And I think part of the mistake that YouTube makes by being this faceless corporation and being so tight and so like inside baseball, they never tell you what to do.
Yeah.
They never tell you what's going on. They create this really
Yeah, that's
deep
fair enough.
chasm divide.
Wonder why.
like, us versus them.
Other than
Yeah.
that you
And
don't
I
like
know
his
that people
voice.
are good people there and they care and they're doing their best. But I feel like somebody very high up, I'm not going to say the specific person's names, I don't want to start a witch hunt, but I feel like the person who's in charge of YouTube, very, very high up, needs to fall on their sword.
Oh, I don't know what the heck that's.
Well,
supposed
they
to
need
mean.
someone needs to take a fall. Like the company has
Oh, I
fucked
see
up.
what you mean.
Like
yeah.
you know, symbolically fall on
Oh,
the sword.
I
Someone
understand.
needs. They need to fucking change something.
Okay, yeah. That's the thing. I never really.
Nobody taking responsibility or accountability there.
I never did see it as personal. From
Do you mean
the beginning. I see
sign-ups?
it like a corporation thing, faceless thing, like you said. And
But that's
there-
not good either.
you know what? It's from their
Oh, my
perspective. I can see they have all these different factions, all these different types of channels, and they have to keep them all happy and their advertisers.
It's
Yeah,
guess
I
they
mean, that's
just
sort of
start
your own
seeing it
problem.
like one big amorphous blob, and they're just chipping away at it. You know,
I completely agree. It's a juggling act,
it's a juggling act for them.
and I'm not envious of the position. It's so
Probably very hard.
hard to manage. But I think they've lost sight
Yeah.
of what is the whole point of this shit.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. But you know, the thing is too about YouTube is, you know, for all the shit we give
Oh, yeah, nice cut out there.
100%.
Sorry, go on.
you can make whatever you want and you get paid for it. It's awesome.
I'll be
Statistically
the
black
first one to
people.
admit right now
What is the
that I
statistical
give
black
them more shit than they deserve and less credit than they deserve.
It's always how it is, though, right? When you want to get something fixed, you get something fixed.
Yeah.
You want to talk about the good things.
It's easier to complain and get fucking
Yeah.
views and get people riled up than to actually be like, congratulate them on doing real stuff.
To
Which
be
they
fair,
do.
this is just like a personal thing. I'm saying, like, when it comes to the issues, you guys have talked about a lot of the issues that they've had over the years.
Really?
I've kind of been like,
Do you like many
"You all
people?
right?" I know. I'm sorry.
I have fucking. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, it's
I have
fine.
acid reflux. It's like the cough is brutal, man. Anyway, go ahead, sir.
So anyway, sorry. Like I've always, you know, I've been sort of iffy on like which things I think. Like some things were like, I don't
Listen,
really care about this. I can
imitation.
see where they're coming from with this, but this recent demonetization stuff.
Oh, I'm playing Listen right now.
I think somebody is it fixed?
No, it's
Oh,
getting
yeah.
worse.
It's getting worse.
Because the Elsa Gate shit you were just talking about has made it way
Is it even worse now?
So
Yeah.
It's even worse.
And now more advertisers are pulling out. They're making more restrictions. They just banned
Oh,
a bunch
yeah.
of channels and videos, and everyone's just getting fucking murdered.
Here's the reason I think it's specifically bad, because it just discourages people from making things at all. Because one of the biggest things that YouTubers rely on is effort. And I put that video out, I'm going to be able to pay my rent.
Right.
We don't know anymore. I mean,
Right.
I put in, and everyone knows this, and it's a meme. I take a long time in between my uploads because I put a lot of effort into them. If I uploaded one and it just didn't get monetized,
Yeah.
that's it. It's really not a
That's
good...
I mean, that's very real, and especially in people like yours case, because there's a lot of YouTubers and the platform favors it, who just they crank them out,
Yeah.
and that's what they're good at, and that's what they do. I'm not criticizing that way of doing it, but it's easier for them to stay afloat.
Yeah.
And I think what they're doing, what you touched on, is discouraging content like yours.
Yeah,
And unintentionally.
Unintentionally, of
Yeah.
course. And also, like, some, like, obviously there are some tags that are more volatile than others. They're just kind of, like, making I think the best word is sanitizing. They're, like, making it
Sure.
so some people are like, well, I could talk about this important thing, but it's going to get demonetized, so screw it.
Right.
And we could have had some awesome thing that now this swath of people is just discouraged to do in general.
I mean, there's a debate, is demonetizing the same as censorship? I mean, clearly it's not the same thing, but there's
It's
like,
discouragement that therefore.
it's not exactly censorship, but it's like such a strong deterrent.
Yeah.
You are repressing a certain.
I'll tell you one thing.
Type of
I
speech.
always hear these arguments, these super libertarian arguments about like, well, you can make your own YouTube if you don't like YouTube. But Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, these are the public square of the modern day.
Right.
They should be, unfortunate. I know
They're
some
kind
people
of
might not like this. They're utilities.
Yeah.
They need to be regulated.
I kind of agree that they are utilities.
Because if you can say that you could just go talk somewhere else, but where and how are you gonna that's where all the discourse happens. I don't know. It's complicated.
No, you're right. It's weird. We're all trying to navigate this unknown territory.
Yeah.
We've never in any point of time has a private company controlled so much discourse in the whole world. It's just bizarre.
Technocracies? Is that the right
Interesting.
word?
I haven't heard that, but it's interesting.
Technocratic
Yeah.
elites. That's the thing about all these people is they kind of have the final say on what's acceptable and what's not, and you could just go on some other website and talk, but the thing is, with the speed of information that travels today, nobody goes to those websites.
I disagree. It's not a feasible thing. Like, oh, just go make your own YouTube. It's like that's not fucking happening in the next 20 years.
You don't like
Go
tolls?
on.
Make your own highways, dude.
Basically, that is a perfect analogy.
Yeah.
It's exactly.
You're never going to get like a perfect free market or a perfect socialism. You need a little bit of both. Hey.
Yeah. That's right. I think you got to walk the middle path. These companies are so entrenched. It's like we just have to accept. I mean, I don't know. I mean, for the most part, they've been relatively responsible, but
I think it's just so annoying when, for example, a video can just be not recommended and you wouldn't know that.
Yeah.
And then as a creator, you'll get less views and you think the video wasn't good. You don't know that it could have been YouTube or the stats or the algorithm. And it's just, if there was more information, things would have just been better, different. But the way it is now, it's so discouraging for creators.
Bro, that's true, by the way. Of Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. They don't tell you, but they manipulate the way that your interaction with the world performs.
They definitely do.
And they know that it reflects on how you feel. Like Facebook has openly said that they manipulate people, their moods and stuff.
It's creepy to me.
And what that? Yeah, it's creepy. I fucking hate. They're the worst.
Mark Zuckerberg's the best meme.
Bro, Mark Zuckerberger is what I call him.
Eating a sandwich with my human relatives.
Oh, that sweatshirt wearing grimy fucking weirdo, dude.
You see that?
What does that guy do in his basements, man?
I know. You seen that series of things where he's like out in the world being like, I am human too. Oh, it's so funny. Funniest thing.
I saw him in VR with someone, and it was like the most awkward thing. Like, okay, we're in Africa now. Dan or Ian, can one of you guys pull that video of Mark Zuckerberg sampling his VR? It's so fun.
We can watch video later.
Anyway, we're gonna take a break.
Okay.
We will be right back. Thank you guys for watching. Having a lot of fun. A short break. We will be back soon with your boy, John. Thank you to MeUndies for sponsoring this episode of the H3 Podcast. Listen, Have you ever got underwear for a gift and you're like, what did I do to deserve this? You know, does this person hate me? Well, guess what? You can now give underwear as a gift this Christmas, and the person's gonna know you love them because it's such a terrific pair of underwear. Maybe the problem isn't the person, it's the underwear itself. Let me tell you about MeUndies, the only underwear that makes for an amazing gift. Hila, can you please?
I'll be showing while you explain.
What's the name of that Price is Right lady, the famous one, Dan? What's her name?
Vanna White?
Yeah, you're gonna be my Vanna White. So look at this. It's soft. It's luxurious. I mean, oh my God, dude. I smell my own Baba Ganoush because I have warranty. I smell it. It's not the underwear's fault. That's really my own fault. Dude, I love wearing MeUndies. It is unlike any other underwear on the market. It's soft. It's flexible. It's got, for a big fupa boy like me, you need those soft, flexible waistbands. Because I chafe. And even if you're thin, it's even better because you don't have to deal with all this tension. It's 3 times softer than cotton. It's natural, sustainably sourced fiber. Gabish? MeUndies made underwear the perfect gift that everyone's gonna love. It's a goddamn holiday miracle. I love that. Listen, they wrote in for me to say it's a goddamn holiday miracle. You owe it to them to buy a pair.
I love their colors and patterns.
Donuts and
It's
milk.
so colorful.
Oh yeah, it's like, oh, and oh, what's that? A little purple inlay? People are gonna see that. You're like, your date's gonna see that and be like, oh my God, little fucking extra taste there inside. Little purple inlay. What else is in those underwear, right? Hopefully not purple, but tasteful as well. This holiday season, guys, get 20% off the softest underwear and socks you will ever wear. Free shipping, 100% satisfaction guaranteed. This will make a great gift for anyone. Go to MeUndies.com/H3. That's MeUndies.com/H3. Thank you, MeUndies, for supporting our show. Next, we've got Movement and VMT. These guys make the best frickin' watches at the best frickin' prices. You've heard me talk about it. You may have heard other people talk about, and maybe you got one yourself and you love it. Well, now it's time to finish your holiday shopping and get one for someone that you love. And they're gonna love you when they get this amazing watch. These guys founded this company on the belief that style shouldn't break the bank. Their goal is to change the way consumers think about fashion by offering high-quality minimalist products at a revolutionary price. These guys have sold 1 million watches to customers in over 160 countries around the world. They've solidified themselves as the world's fastest-growing watch company, the most legit, the most reputable. Hila, show it off.
I'm wearing yours, but
It still looks great. Matches your outfit.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm odd. It's a great-looking watch, man. You throw that on with any outfit, and all of a sudden it's like, boom. Boom. 3 ratings up on the I'd like to fuck you scale. Say you're a 5. All of a sudden you're an 8. 8's a really good rating. Say you're a 2, like you're hideous, and okay, you're a 2. All of a sudden you're a 5. Somebody's gonna be like, they're gonna see that watch and be like, I could fuck that guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, like this can do a lot of movement for you. Movement. It's in the name, guys, and that's what they're talking about.
was that planned?
No. It's just inspired by how great their watch is. Listen, it starts at just $95. If you go to a department store, you're looking at $400 to $500 of a watch of equal value. Okay? At such great prices, it's going to make a wonderful holiday gift. It's a classic design with quality construct, guys. I want you to head on over. Get 15% off today with free shipping and free returns by going to MVMT.com/H3. It's a clean design. It's going to make a great fashion statement. Guys, step it up. Go to MVMT.com/H3 for your 15% off. Join the movement today. Thank you so much for sponsoring us. Let's get back into your boy Johnny Trunny. Welcome back to the H3 Podcast, here with Jan Tran.
Well, if you want to support my endeavors, I'll tell you what, I got a new merch store. And actually, there's new stuff coming. I'm shilling this stupid X thing that I apparently said.
Always be
Let's
Plugging.
go.
Always be plugging. You can go to represent.com/JohnTron. I think that's the link, but it's on represent.com.
Represent.com/John.
Actually,
that should take you there.
Sorry. I never did like merch before, really, but I've just started to have fun with it, and there's a new one coming out that I think everyone's gonna like. I hate
It's
to
pretty
hype it,
fun.
but it will. Yeah, it's gonna be coming out probably next month. So.
Oh,
go there
also we have a
Oh,
call
they're
number.
linking in the chat to your store.
Oh, they're linking in the chat. Great.
Oh, cool. Awesome. Thanks, guys.
There's also a call-in number. If you guys have any questions for us or John while we're here, there should be a number on the screen. Call in, harass poor Ian. He'll be taking your calls and screening it to the best of his ability. So make sure to be gentle and sweet with him. He's a sweet guy. He does not deserve the abuse he's about to get. That being said, we've got this video of Mark Zuckerberg.
Zuckerborg, more like.
Zuckerborg. Mark Zuckerborger.
There it is. Mark Zuckerberg tried doing everyday normal stuff. The internet trolled hard.
What are you, milking a cow? Like, get real.
Mark Zuckerberg doing your average,
But wait.
everyday American things.
What is he doing? Like, what are you running for office? Like, why would you even care to do this?
Inspecting factory.
What is this?
I am, Mark Zuckerberg, inspect factory.
I know. Wow, you everyday Americans sure are doing.
What was the context of this image?
That's what I'm
You
curious.
know, some people think
Here, let
he
me
is
read it.
he is like running up to, to run
No,
for some sort of.
no.
Some
Really?
people think.
I'm not disagreeing.
Look at
I
that.
don't want.
Proof's in the pudding. None of us want it.
Nobody feeds a cow milk unless they're trying to get something out of us.
I know, right? Nobody has ever voluntarily fed a cow milk.
Beef of the past. I am Zuckerberg. Drink of this beef milk I have grabbed from the sustenance teats. Soon you shall be burgers. Glorious.
Actually, there was this one thing. There was this one thing where it's a meme that he's not like human.
Oh, here.
And one time he tweeted that and it was like a typo. It was so funny.
Really?
Yeah, he like typoed that he
Like a
wasn't actually human.
Freudian flip.
Yeah.
I often wonder if the singularity has already happened, and if Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk aren't agents of our
Yeah,
robot downfall.
What if the singularity is inside Mark Zuckerberg's mind, and
Bro.
he is just an AI learning about us? That's what this is.
Bro? Like, it's not that crazy, is it?
Yeah, I love
Maybe it's
when,
a little crazy.
Do you know what really freaked me? Like, very little freaks me out these days. Even like the whole nuclear shit going on with North Korea. But I say when Elon Musk was like, "Guys, we need to regulate AI. It's gonna kill us." I was
It's
like,
scary.
"Elon Musk knows what he's talking about, guys."
That scared me too.
Yeah.
That scared the shit out of me. Here's what Mark had to say about these pictures. It's my first time in Michigan, and my first stop was at the. Why are you touring like you're? He's running. He's gonna run.
I know.
I just stopped by the good state of Michigan to give my support to the people. He went to Detroit. Nobody goes to Detroit.
I know. Well, yeah. People go out of Detroit.
I played a very small part in the assembling of a new Ford. Come on, stop fucking flating yourself. Yada yada. But the most interesting part was sitting down with some of the people who do this every day.
See, that's what
This
I'm
is
saying.
so weird.
It is, isn't it weird? It's very strange that he's doing this because you know that Mark Zuckerberg, he's always talking about how he feels like he can what he wants to do, and I don't mean this in a conspiracy theory way. He's literally said like we want to socially engineer people using Facebook algorithms, and it's like, dude, weird, man.
I think the problem is and I don't mean this like derogatory, but I think he has autism,
He probably
and I don't think he understands that saying I want to socially engineer people, or like not like full blown autism, but like Asperger's, where he doesn't really understand why what he's doing is so creepy.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to really understand that it's creepy. It's kind of funny though. It's why it's just.
It's a
meme.
combination of
It
like
could
Asperger's
be.
and so far removed from normal life.
Yeah, I think it could be even without Asperger's. Just
Yeah.
just you start something and then you get so involved in it that you lose perception
Totally.
of reality.
Imagine if you were at the top of a pyramid of a world-encompassing social media platform, and by you ticking a box, you changed the course of like discourse or history.
Yeah.
Could get it. That's like too much power.
It is freaky.
Yeah.
No,
Too much power.
Imagine writing this. But the most interesting part was sitting down with some of the people who do this every day. It's like, bro, did you not know that?
I even stood within 1 foot of the human.
Yeah.
And they smiled
I
to me.
dare not step.
Why are you selling kit?
Bro, this shit is weird, man.
Isn't it weird? Yeah, it's been my
Why are you
one of my
talking?
guilty pleasures. The Mark Zuckerberg.
But
memes.
wait, you guys, find me the one of the VR.
Leak?
I don't know if this is here. Let me keep going down. Here's a video.
Yeah, this has got to be good.
Oh, this is 20 minutes long.
With my friend Pete Buttigieg.
Pete Buttigieg.
One of the youngest mayors in America. And so I've been going around to different states for my personal challenge for the year to see how different communities are working across the country, seeing how people are living and how they're thinking about their work and their hopes and challenges.
I guess that's good.
That's
He's
not so
trying.
bad. He's
trying to be.
Maybe we're giving him too much
Yeah,
shit.
maybe. Like all of a sudden, I'm like, well, maybe that's why he's doing it. Maybe I'm just an asshole.
Look, whatever it is, it just
still
looks,
funny.
it comes off strange.
Yeah.
Even he probably has good
That's
intentions.
funny that we all thought, like, wait, maybe it's
man,
just
we're
nice.
assholes.
Yeah, maybe he's just a nice dude.
Well, we're criticizing for being out of touch, and he's like, that's why I'm doing this.
I know. Like,
You milk
I'm sitting here like he will literally destroy all of us. Hi, I'm just going to say hi to some people.
You know what's the weird part, I guess?
I'm just going to go like help some guy out.
Okay, you know what's weird about this?
What?
The way that he's like publicizing it.
That's what I
think
mean.
that's the
No,
weird
that's
part.
the creepy thing. Because if he did it like just
Just a personal mission.
it's one of those things. I guess when you're somebody like him, you're like, well, why not document it?
guess,
But it's still just. It wouldn't be.
But look at this picture.
if it wasn't so weird, though.
How can you not understand that this is funny?
Yeah, I know, right? Oh, poor
It's
poor
such
bastard.
a classic. Like I am one of you.
I know it is because I guess like when you grow up in the city, I can say I've grown up in Los Angeles and live in.
This episode of ETC is brought to you by The Belko Experiment, in theaters March 17th.
Oh boy, what better way to make use of our brand new, beautiful set than with the latest YouTuber dumpster fire.
Yeah.
Over the weekend, JonTron, one of the most popular gaming YouTubers who's been making videos for over a decade, agreed to a little live stream debate with fellow video game streamer Destiny on the topic of American identity, immigration, those gosh darn SJWs, and so on and so forth. You see, despite being successful on YouTube for many years and generally seen as funny by his large audience, it was only recently that JonTron started being more blunt and honest about his views on politics and race. And to the surprise of many of his fans, he seemed to align himself pretty firmly with the alt-right.
So basically, he started saying a lot of stuff about cultural Marxism and preserving America's white European identity, and how the left had gotten way out of hand with social justice and political correctness and white guilt and feminism. And when he inevitably got responses strongly disagreeing with him, it only seemed to embolden him to speak even more freely. For the sizable portion of the internet who identify with alt-right viewpoints, it was a lovely surprise seeing one of the biggest YouTubers was going to be on their side. But for a lot of longtime JonTron fans, the whole thing was just kind of fucking weird.
Yeah, so this past Sunday, while JonTron was ranting on Twitter about immigration being a threat to American culture or something, Destiny jumped into his replies and they politely debated for a bit before Destiny offered to continue the conversation via Skype in an impromptu Twitch live stream. To his credit, Destiny's approach to the conversation was pretty calm and well thought out, not really pushing a huge social justice leftist agenda, mainly just trying to get John to understand that the white race isn't under attack and there's a shitload of historical reasons why minorities in America aren't as successful as white Americans.
Yeah, it's actually a pretty interesting 80-minute conversation that's worth watching for yourself, mainly because Destiny does such a good job backing up his talking points with evidence and logic and not coming across as a stereotypical pinko liberal while, being faced with JonTron's pure, unfiltered stream of consciousness word vomit. Ideology aside, JonTron is fucking terrible at debating, but the real juice here is the opinions he did manage to articulate during the conversation, giving us all the clearest look that we've ever seen so far at the mind of JonTron Jafari. So let's just run down some of the big JonTron talking points.
So he's concerned about the US's white population dropping from around 90% in the year 1900 to around 70% today due to immigration, and believes that if the ratio continues to drift, the US will lose its inherent white European identity, despite Destiny pointing out that white people in the US in 1900 absolutely did not identify as a unified race and rather identified as English, Irish, Italian, German, and so on. This is all especially bewildering since JonTron is a first-generation American whose father immigrated from Iran. JonTron calls this demographic displacement, and he compares it to apartheid in South Africa, because those are totally the
hand
same
in
thing.
hand. He seems to believe that non-white Americans are inherently predisposed to commit more crime than white people and also leech off more government benefits than white people, making the claim that rich black people are more likely to commit crimes than poor white people as proof of this. Though it seems that the article he's referencing was actually about incarceration rates and not actually about criminal activity, which is a pretty huge difference.
Not the same.
He also makes the baffling point that there's a correlation between the level of violence and poverty in Africa and the level of violence and poverty among African Americans, essentially implying that the problem is simply genetics and not an extremely complex set of social and historical reasons.
Yeah, JonTron seems to legitimately, sincerely believe that discrimination and oppression simply do not exist in America anymore. Because we solved it already, and if you don't agree, you are living in a fantasy land. And when Destiny defends Mexican immigration by saying that Mexican immigrants are some of the hardest working employees in the US labor market, JonTron dismisses it as virtue signaling, which is, that's a term that assholes use to try to make people feel bad for having empathy.
Yeah. It's a wild fucking ride from start to finish, and honestly, difficult to really sum up, but thankfully someone on NeoGAF, that message board, they did a whole bullet points recap. So we'll just read that to you and let you know what went on during this 80-minute conversation. A brief summary.
Yeah. Foreigners dilute the gene pool.
Black crime in America is the same as in Africa, like he fucking brought this up twice.
Racial issues can be summed up via mixing different colors of paint.
Statistical data means nothing because Clinton lost the election.
Destiny wants to kill black people.
Black Lives Matter is a violent organization.
The richest black man commits more crimes than the poorest white man.
Tribalism is a valid theory.
Immigrants are destroying every single country they are let into.
America is going to become Mexico.
Racism is over.
Muslims are organizing to make it seem like Christians are protesting abortion clinics.
And also, Destiny didn't even fucking ask the most obvious fucking question. If you're so concerned about immigrants, why do you keep bringing up blacks?
Yeah.
Good point there.
And then another user then jumped in to tack on a few more tasty bullet points, like Irish settlers to North America were not prejudiced against. That was a myth.
Discrimination does not exist in modern day America. Meanwhile, he discriminates in the video.
Pure America is white European settlers, barely any consideration given to Native Americans.
All of Europe is the same.
Social demographics and upbringing don't play any part in crime rates.
And Japan is the gold standard for a racially pure country.
So,
lots to unpack there.
Yeah, like I said, you kind of got to just go watch the video because throughout the entire time we were watching it, you're just like, you should stop digging that hole, buddy.
John, please.
Just, what are you trying to accomplish here?
Yeah.
Anyways, at the end of the debate, JonTron seemed pretty aware that a lot of what he'd said was going to piss off a lot of his fan base, signing off by saying, "R.I.P. my career." But unlike previous YouTuber scandals where fans stay true to their favorite creators through thick and thin, the JonTron fanbase was surprisingly pretty unified in thinking that the debate had been a complete and total train wreck that revealed how uninformed and maybe kinda sorta racist JonTron is. The JonTron subreddit, which is usually dominated by playful shitposts, was soon dominated by posts and comments condemning JonTron's views as well as some new great shitposts.
Yeah, incredible JonTron cosplay with just a picture of a literal dumpster fire. JonTron, if he were his career right now, with a picture of JonTron hanging by a noose. Hey guys, I found where John lives, with a picture of a bubble. A petition to turn the subreddit into a video game donkey themed subreddit. And our favorite, a photo of a massive strip mine with the caption, "Researchers say this is one of the biggest man-made holes on Earth, but creator John Jafari says he will keep digging."
Great. Good Onion headline.
Yeah.
This is honestly one of the biggest and most bizarre and most unexpected YouTube scandals that we've ever observed. And that includes shit that we've been here a long time.
Yeah.
We've seen the Sam Pepper shit that when he was seemingly advocating sexual harassment. The whole PewDiePie thing that just happened recently for the Kill All Jews stunt that he pulled. JonTron's YouTube career was already in a strange place, with a few actual video uploads over the past year, and most of his online presence shifting into spouting off controversial opinions on Twitter. And that just makes the whole incident stand out even more.
Yeah, it's not like he's putting out a ton of content that can bury this. This is like one of the only times he's even been on camera in the last 6 months.
Yeah.
And look, we get that we're not exactly approaching this in a totally unbiased way. We do have our own opinions about politics and society, and they have basically nothing in common with the views JonTron has been expressing. The difference is that when we make videos talking about politics and social issues, we try our best to at least base things around facts. I mean, you can disagree with us, but at least we're trying to get as close to the truth as possible. JonTron's debate performance here was like, it was truly something else, especially side by side with Destiny's much more informed arguments.
Yeah, it's unclear what effect, if any, this will have on John.
Well, this certainly has been an interesting week. So recently, as you may have heard, I had a public debate about some contentious topics relevant to the day. I blew up in the media, and they wrote some, how you say, charitable articles on me. So I feel like I need to come out and say something. Staying silent doesn't really feel right, so I'm just going to address this here and now. I understand that I wasn't prepared for a debate of this sort with these kinds of sensitive topics at hand adequately. I was a bit all over the place, and I said a lot of stuff that could be misconstrued in all sorts of ways. Things are being extracted from this that I know I don't think. I was in there under a lot of pressure that I'm not used to being under, and as it became clear, I suck at debate. So now every haphazard, offhand remark I made in the heat of the moment is being dissected and speculated on. So I'd like to clarify. I was trying to speak to the increasing tribalization of our culture. These days, we're taught to think in explicitly racial or ethnic categories or in terms of gender or sexual orientation. And I think this in itself plays a big hand in what's gotten our country to the volatile state that it's in. The simple point I was trying to make is that it's hypocritical for those who see everything in terms of race to suddenly turn around and object when white people speak up in what they believe are the best interests of their race. And it's also hypocritical to keep saying you want to have an honest conversation about race if you don't actually want to have an honest conversation about race. And anytime someone brings up an uncomfortable statistic, you freak out and burn things down or something. And I mean, you can see this in all the countless media articles that get pumped out every day from the highest levels saying, for instance, you can't be racist against white people, or it's a good thing whites are going to become a minority. Or you see it on TV when someone as mainstream as Samantha Bee says, white people ruined America for voting Trump.
It's pretty clear who ruined America. White people.
I suppose you could guess the reaction if Samantha Bee said black people ruined America for voting overwhelmingly for Barack Obama, which they did both times. I'm not saying that's true, but the same standard applies. The point I was trying to make, albeit indelicately, is that you can't keep banging the racial category drum and then be surprised and shocked when people think in racial categories. And just for the sake of total clarity, I do completely understand that historically the African American community has had a raw deal in this country. Discrimination certainly exists, but I do believe it goes all ways. I'm not naive to the fact that we, as a country, have had a terrible history of dealing with race. I mean, of course, from slavery to Jim Crow to even the Irish, but the point is that this kind of discrimination is universally wrong, and I feel like for some reason we're regressing on this front. Pointing at a race and saying all of this race is blank is racist. And I have to be honest, I don't see many people losing their jobs over this kind of garbage. And I'd like to make it clear, I have no problem with immigration when it's handled correctly. I should have made it clear I was mostly speaking to mass immigration. I am literally a child of two immigrants. It would be pretty heinous of me to say that immigration is impossible, because it's not. You know, I brought all this stuff up offhand in a random Twitch stream late at night, so I understand why people looking at this think I'm some sort of explicit ethno-nationalist, but I'm not. I genuinely believe this country would be better off if we dropped the hyphens and just all referred to each other as fellow Americans. And for a number of years now, it's been disheartening to me to see this strange road we've been headed down. I really don't understand it. And you know, some of these topics have really been weighing on me, so I felt compelled to respond in some way, perhaps against my better judgment. I know people don't expect these kinds of things from me.
Yeah, but you can plug in
so in
some
summary,
people
I'm sorry if this has come out of left field for some of you. I hope this has cleared up at least a little bit if you were curious what was going on. You know, any of the things in the stream that could be considered weird sounding or off-putting, I probably agree with you that they were. So I hope you don't read too much into it.
I don't even know.
That said, I genuinely hope people keep debating, keep talking to each other, and keep learning. Honest, civil discourse without witch hunts is the only way we're getting out of this mess. I'd prefer to take a step back now, return to doing comedy. It's what I do better anyway. Thank you sincerely to all of you who've supported me through this ride. I really appreciate it. If you'd like to catch up on my new videos, you know where to find me.
All right, boys. We're going in.
Oh, there we go. I think I can hear you now.
Oh, you got it?
Yeah, how's the is this mic quality good?
Yeah, sounds great.
Is it echoey? Okay. What's up, Mr. Stephen Bonnell II? Is that correct?
Yeah, that's the full name. You just completely doxed me, dude. What if my name is a secret?
That's a bit, you're even more handsome in person.
Well, thanks, I guess.
If you ain't been up to see Drake.
So what's up, man? What do you want to talk about? I know we got into a little spat today on Twitter. I have to say, I didn't expect today to go. It wasn't really how I was expecting my Sunday to go, but you know, with life, especially these days, you never know.
Yeah.
You never know how it's gonna go.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I guess it's kind of a brief overview of kind of what I told you. We've been talking about a lot of these issues recently on my stream, and not just on my stream, obviously across the entire world.
Yes.
You know, cultural issues and everything are at the forefront, both American and international politics. What with Brexit and now with Trump in the United States, and yeah, it's kind of a lot of shit going on. The gaming community typically tends to lean a certain direction, you know, especially in a post-Gamergate world, where you find a lot of certain things being said, and I noticed that it seems like you are kind of on a certain side of things when it comes to this kind of immigration and culture debate. And
I guess I do. Sorry, go on.
I was gonna say I know you have a very, very large outreach and whatnot, so seeing you say some things was a little bit troubling. But yeah, go ahead.
Sure. Well, I mean, I don't think it's troubling. I think it's actually pretty common sense. I think the fact that people think it's troubling is what's troubling to me, because I just don't see it as very controversial. Could you? And also, the only reason that I'm maybe on a quote-unquote side is because in this day and age, staying on the fence is just useless, because everybody knows that you're just trying to avoid conflict at that point, because we are in very polarized times. So I just like to at least state my opinion clearly. But what is it that you find so troubling? Let's start there.
So I guess it's kind of this general vague defense of Western, or more specifically like American culture. Basically, the problem I'm getting into is every time I read things, and I know that you're going to take extreme disagreement with this, every time I read things, what it always seems to boil down to is I think that this thing is better because it's majority white, and I don't want that to change. And that's like the most important thing. That's how it seems to read out to me that way.
Okay, so that is one way that you might look at the way that... I mean, obviously you can take that from it, but that's really not the core argument. The core argument is that no other nation would voluntarily change its demographics. Now, people say, oh, demographics? What do you mean? You know, it's not a white country or something like that, or demographics don't matter. But if this were true, they wouldn't have such an easy time turning around and identifying who's the problem, you know, the quote-unquote white male. They have no problem identifying it then.
I mean, well, in terms of the problem, I mean, I think it depends on what particular thing you're talking about. But I guess, so to look at that first statement, so
Seems to be growing
to kind
up.
of start this off, I'm not comparing us to any other country in the world. I think that the United States of America is relatively unique in its identity, and that we don't really have, and we don't have like an ethnic background
Just
that
wanted
is
to
tied
trade
to
a
our
few
country.
things.
Does that make sense? As in, like, we're not like,
Yeah, well,
if you're from France, you can be French. If you're from Italy, you can be Italian, German. You can be German, Polish, like actual ancestry dating back hundreds and hundreds of years. Typically, as Americans, we are Eurocentric, right, in our ancestry.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. It's the USA as the proposition nation, but you know, it is a European nation historically. There's just no debating that. When people try to debate that, yeah, there was obviously the slave population who lived here, brought here against their will.
So
they were emancipated.
The
Of course,
first
yeah.
thing that you just said doesn't really make sense. It was a European nation. Like in the late 1800s and the early 1900s, Italians and Irishmen were discriminated against, like, massively coming to the United States. Like, they were called, I think Irish people were called the inside-out Negroes. Like, it was like...
They're still European, though.
Yeah, but I'm saying that we didn't see it that way going back, you know, 150 years in the United States. It's like, well, they're European, they're okay. Like, that's not how we saw it. Like,
but we weren't there at that time. I mean, I was born in 1990, well past the... I mean, my dad is Persian, my mom is Hungarian. I'm not even 100% white. I'm just saying this as a matter of fact. So when I see bullshit, I just know it. And
well, what do you mean by matter of fact? What I'm saying is that as time has gone on, we've seen more and more people be included in the identity of what it means to be an American. So it seems strange that today there's like this massive pushback on who can become included in that demographic. That just seems kind of strange.
Okay, I I understand what you're saying. Well, none of this would have ever been a problem had the, I guess you could call them the extreme left, started bringing identity politics to the fore. Because when you have a nation is supposed to be a people that are all bound by at least culture, if not genetics or whatever you want to say. So, we're all supposed to feel like we're one people, but they started doing this thing where they were like, well, if you're black, you're here. If you're white, you're here. If you're, they
so
basically...
so again, like, I know these are a lot of like hot button talking points, but like when you say the left started identity politics by assigning white and black to certain areas, I would say that Jim Crow laws probably assigned white and black people to different areas more so than a Black Lives Matter speaker or Obama talking about a racial issue. I don't agree with this narrative that all of a sudden the left has brought out, identity politics. Like, if you talk to minorities in the United States, identity politics has been part of their national identity for the past, since the inception of the United States.
I just don't know that. Well, I just don't know that it's on the same level, especially because.
Well, it's not. It's on a much lesser level than it used to be. We don't have Jim Crow laws anymore. We don't. Women's suffrage happened.
You're right, and people still manage to create divisions between themselves.
Well, because there still exist divisions. Black people are disproportionately represented in prisons. Women are disproportionately represented in certain workplaces.
Okay, but the argument is that it's white people who caused them to be in those places. That's the implicit argument, not that they have any agency of their own to.
Who do you think was responsible for Jim Crow laws?
Well, of course it was white people. Of course, I'm not arguing for Jim Crow.
Okay, well, no, I'm just saying that when you say something like that, like, well, people are blaming white people, which is absurd. Well, I mean, if you go back 50, 200 years, yeah, it was kind of white people that did it. Now, I'm not saying that we need to lock white people up now or bring back reparations or anything, but it seems like the big problem, and I notice this a lot because I watched pretty much your entire discussion with Sargon, is that I know that there are extremists on the left that want to play the blame game and do that fucking white guilt bullshit. I'm not into that shit. I'm not that extreme. Like, white people need to, bow their heads and be solemn everywhere and recognize their privilege all the time. Like, I think that's stupid. But it's difficult sometimes to have a conversation about these topics when a lot of white people won't even acknowledge that they exist. When you get white people that say things like, well, I'm pretty sure I could go through your Twitter and find things like reverse racism is a real thing, and white genocide exists today in America and everybody hates the white man. Like, those are pretty charged statements when you have people that are alive today in their 60s who were legally discriminated against in their childhood. Like, those are pretty extreme statements,
Well, if we are going to acknowledge one side, this is always a one-sided thing, because if you don't agree that whites are the primary cause of, dysfunction in certain communities, like it has to stem back to Jim Crow, it has to stem back to slavery. Well, I don't know that these arguments can hold up decade after decade. So
Jim
I think
Crow
that's
wasn't
where people...
that long ago, though. Like, when you say a statement like that, like, that's
okay, but there's people who are like 18 years old who are committing a disproportionate amount of crime, and they were born after me. So how do you explain that? Is that Jim Crow?
How? Okay,
Nobody wants to get into the realistic things. They say you want to have a conversation, but they don't really want to have a conversation. They just want to blame whites more and more. And the more
all right, if you had a daughter that was 18 years old, would you send her to hang out with 400 guys that were all like known like fucking juggalos or people that rape people or whatever all the time? Would you have her hang out in that environment?
No.
Probably not, right? If you had a friend and he had 30 friends that were meth heads, right? Would you be happy with him hanging out with all of these people constantly? Like,
no,
probably not, right? What the argument I'm getting to is that your environment shapes you a lot, right? If you have a family that dates back, hundreds of years, if you've got parents that help you, parents that take care of you, like, these things have a major impact of your life. If you have grandparents that were directly impacted by Jim Crow,
seems
you have
to be
parents
well.
that were born to people that were directly, discriminated against by the state. I mean, we're not that far removed from these issues. It's not like, well, my grandparents deal with this. Do we really have, like, we still deal with the Red Scare in the West,
Okay, well, the United Kingdom didn't have Jim Crow. France didn't have Jim Crow. We still have riots. We still have Muslim riots over there. And in Sweden, they didn't have Jim Crow. There's still riots in the streets of Stockholm and Malmo and wherever else. So you're telling me that...
I'm just speaking...
So at what point do we... So Jim Crow, one aspect of it here in America. But as far as the rest of the Western world,
we don't have these same precedents, and
Okay,
there's
so, hold on, I only want to speak
time in those communities.
I only want to speak in regards to the United States because everything else is way more complicated. When you get into the histories of other countries and Islam and in the Europe and everything, that's all different countries, or that's all different countries and different topics. So in the United States, I'm not trying to say that no black person is ever responsible for any of their actions whatsoever. I'm just saying that it bothers me sometimes when I listen to internet celebrities get together and talk about how irresponsible black people are when so many of them are born to single-parent households. With
Like it's not as if we're saying like all black people are irresponsible. That's ridiculous. I mean that is truly bigoted. I'm just saying, like you can't make the argument that whites should be okay with them being becoming a minority in the countries that their ancestors built if it doesn't apply to other countries.
Wait, we're getting way different. Hold on. White minority versus other countries. Okay, here, I'll write this down. We're not quite on that topic yet. I'm just saying that if you're not acknowledging that there are problems that exist in these communities, you'll never be able to fix it, right? And one of the big problems I had when I talked with Sargon was this idea that, like, black people just need to fix themselves. Like, I mean, sure, you can say that, but this is going to take a lot longer to get these communities on board when they were aggravated by white communities for so long. You can't just tell a group of people that have been oppressed historically in the United States for hundreds of years, you know, over the course of a generation to just fix their shit. Like, it doesn't work that way, you know?
I don't understand why it is anyone else's responsibility but their own. Do they not have agency? Why is it why should someone else deal with these problems? I mean, that's basically what people are asking in this.
Because we live in a civilization where we all help each other and we have to
but
exist with one another.
Recently, we haven't been acting that way, have we? So
recently we have been. We live in an unprecedented period of human history where more people than ever are surviving childbirth, less people than ever are dying in natural disaster, more people than ever are moving into middle classes all around the world. That's not true. We've absolutely been helping each other. And the thing is, even if you're a selfish person, this benefits you. Why are you moving to the United States and not staying in Iran? Probably because there's more people doing well in the United States, so there's more opportunity for you here than there is in Iran, right? When the United States, when everybody in the US does better, everybody does better, right? If black communities and Mexican communities get more money... Of course! So, well, you're saying of course now, but then earlier you're like, well, why should we help anybody else? Because you don't want to live in a shitty country with...
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying they're turning everyone against each other, and so.
Well, but you saying that, but it's like it feels like if you point out a problem, the right is so quick to go, well, hold on, you're turning us all against each other. Well, no, we're just acknowledging a problem, and now we need to fix it.
I would argue that. I don't know. I don't want to get too raunchy with this, but I think what I'm saying is that nobody would ask Japan if it was okay that Japan become a minority Japanese nation.
But we're not Japan, and I don't care about Japan. And also, Japan is one of the most racist fucking countries in the world. You want to be like Japan?
This word racist, what does it mean?
It means that the Japanese people thought that they were the superior Asians, and it was part of the reasons why they were so keen to do that shit they did during World War II. Japanese viewed themselves as the superior Asian race, and every other Asian is being subservient to them. It doesn't get much more racist than Japan. You want to try to draw a parallel to another homogenous society. Japan is like the worst go-to argument. It's also a dying country of people who, because they refuse to let anybody else in, are having horrible problems with their population. Japan has a lot of world record-setting suicide rates. I don't think Japan is the country that you want to point to as your model homogenous society.
I just disagree. I think it is a model society. I mean,
in what way?
See, look, it's happening now. I mean, what is it that's so offensive about white people saying they would like to preserve their demographic majority? I don't understand. It always gets into these semantics of
because I don't understand why is the skin color so important, and why would you drag the country down holding on to it? There have been
I didn't start this shit now, did I?
Well, there have been contributions by other people to our country that are non-white. Why wouldn't we want to continue to foster this kind of behavior? Why would you want to close everybody out?
Because I think human beings are at the core tribal, and they tend to want to stick to their own. I think it's completely natural, completely normal, and so.
But you've already proven that statement wrong in what you're saying, because you think you're a white person and you're half Iranian and what did you say, Hungarian?
Yeah, you're right. I'm half
That wouldn't
white.
have been considered a white person 100 years ago. 100 years ago, Irish wasn't considered a white person.
I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about mass immigration. Like when they want to basically, you know, I mean, they've gone and they've said it on the DNC. What was it? Like the DNC platform. They have that lady that was saying, you know, white people need to shut up and listen. Now, that's the kind of discourse we're looking at for the future of this country.
So, I mean, that sounds kind of bad, but again, you have... I mean,
kind of bad?
Well, I mean, that's what I find myself saying to a lot of white people. When you've got white people saying things like, oh, racism isn't real, or reverse racism is the bigger crime, or minorities in America are totally fine, you guys just need to, like, damn, like, at some point, you got to chill out, and, yeah, you have to listen to people and figure out what their problems are so that we can move forward in a positive...
This is the problem. When you get condescending, people say, fuck you, I don't want to listen, and that's why you're seeing this big pushback. I didn't start it. And
well, but
this
both
whole thing
sides
about
are condescending.
white.
We can't pretend that condescension only comes from one side, right? Like, Trump is literally the most abrasive political figure.
It does come from one side. Trump is a reaction to the retarded identity politics of the last...
You're talking about reaction to identity politics, Doug. Half the people that were tweeting at me in response to what you were saying to me were literal Nazis and white supremacists, like linking
Look, man, it's this guilt by association shit. Why don't you denounce all the communists in your movement? They killed 100 million people.
Wait,
what's wrong
communism?
with communism? Is that what you just said?
Wait, what does communism have to do with any of this?
Well, what do Nazis have to do with this?
The people, it's a political and race ideology. Communism is just an economic thing.
Oh, it's an economic thing. Okay, Nazis were a movement in 1930s Germany. They have absolutely nothing to do with any of this. Americans are the ones who beat the Nazis. So I don't know why we're bringing Nazis into anything.
Because the people that were supporting you identify as neo-Nazis.
I don't care. Does someone replying to me mean that I endorse them? Have I ever tweeted anything of neo-Nazi ideology?
No, but I guess like the thing that bothers me is that at some point, if you find that you are in company with a ton of white supremacist, racist people, like at some point you gotta wonder, like, fuck, what the fuck am I talking about? Like,
no, these are just slurs, white supremacist, racist. And by the way, this thing that I think I'm white, so fine, go ahead and take the whiteness away from you. Say, I'm just an Uncle Tom Middle Eastern.
No. Hold on. No, I'm not trying to take the whiteness thing away from you. I think it's a beautiful thing.
Hey,
this is where we are at 2017. A half Iranian is talking to me and feels like they belong to America. That's a good thing, dude. That's a positive thing. Because, like I said, 150 years ago, people identified as their European counterparts. Like, you're not American, you're German, you're Polish, right? It's these things. You're Italian, you're, British, like, but now we see ourselves as American. There's a ton of different white people in the United States that all see themselves as fucking white people. A lot of people couldn't even...
clearly people in America, if there is one, let me put it this way, if there is one American in America who doesn't see themselves, and they're a citizen, who doesn't see themselves as strictly American, we have ourselves a problem, in my opinion, because, and sure, if you want to move towards fixing that, that's fine, that's a great goal. I don't think a pure society is possible. Like, I don't think that's possible. But in terms of a demographic majority, I don't know that a nation can exist without one. This truly multicultural, every single person is a different like thing or race or religion. I don't really know if that's sustainable long term in a society.
Why not? What's so wrong about people being
well,
around
have
you
you
that look
seen the
different than
last
you?
4 years, my friend? I feel like people like you, when they're talking about this, they just pretend you gaslight. You pretend that the last 4 to 8 years didn't fucking happen.
I'm not gaslighting. Your side is the definition of gaslighting, dude. You're telling me that there are riots all over Europe and riots all over Sweden. No, they're not. Do you think Sweden is falling apart right now under mass rioting and burning down of...
You ever heard of boiling the frog slowly? Doesn't notice.
I mean, people say the same about Trump's move towards an authoritarian fascist government. I mean, you can make the same argument about anything. Like I said, I mean, like the facts back me up that we are in an unprecedented era of world peace right now. But for some reason, people think
that's about to change.
Why?
Because shit's falling apart.
But it's not. You're the one gaslighting now. Do you see? Trump is the one gaslighting. This idea that crime is at a 45-year high, that ISIS represents a threat somehow to the Western world, these are gaslightings by fucking Trump. These things aren't true. I
will give you that perhaps it's a little bit on both sides there, but I still maintain what I say is true. And,
So, like, when I look at society in America today, 200 years ago, men and women would not have been seen as being able to do equal things. That would be a disgusting idea. 150 years ago, you know, Italians, Polish people, Irishmen wouldn't have been considered even white people, let alone Americans, right?
I don't know that
that
is just a myth. That's not true. They were considered white. I don't know where this thing that Italians and Irish weren't considered white. That's ridiculous. You seen the Irish are like the whitest people around. What the hell, that's just a fucking myth. So I'm gonna take that from you.
Okay, here's a quick, I can't read
thing.
the word. It's white N-word, okay? I can't read this because we're in trouble on stream, okay? This is what Irishmen were called.
I mean,
in the United States. I don't know if you
a
didn't
little
think
more
this.
proof than a short Wikipedia article here.
I mean, what do you want? I mean, we're talking about an undisputed.
But they were still white. That's all I'm saying.
They
were
no,
not
dude. They literally
white.
had signs in the United States that said Irish need not apply. These were less than humans. These people were treated horribly. They were not seen as Americans or even white people. They were called reverse Negros.
Maybe they were a bunch of dicks, huh?
I don't think so, no.
I mean, okay.
So, 200 years ago, women weren't seen as being able to achieve the same thing as men were. 150 years ago, Irishmen and Italian weren't seen as being white people. 100 years ago, black people weren't seen as... It seems like we're making...
Being Irish, or people not liking the Irish, or people not liking the Italians, doesn't make them not white. It just makes them not liked. Perhaps they had some traits that were undesirable. I hear the Italian mafia made the rounds. But look, that would have been a good argument to restrict Italian immigration then.
But we didn't, and look what happened. No, they've integrated into society. That's a good thing. Nobody in the United States of America, nobody in the U.S. sees an Italian.
Giuliani took him down.
Nobody in the U.S. looks at Italians and goes, "Oh, you're Italian. You're not a real American." Look at all of the integration we've achieved so far. Why would we stop at this point when we've come so much farther than we ever thought possible?
Because if it's not working, we should avert course.
How is it not working? What's not working?
It appears there is a lot of conflict. I mean, I don't know if you've noticed, but in the last election, they pitted non-whites against whites, and they expected the non-whites to vote for Hillary, or you were some sort of race traitor. And I don't know if you want to ignore that fact, that's fine, but that's how it was.
Well, I mean, it's kind of based on their platforms. When you've got somebody like Trump saying that if you have Mexican parents, you can't be a federal judge. I mean, that's a pretty racially charged...
Did he say that? I don't know if he said that. I don't recall Trump ever saying anything explicitly racist. I recall that he said that he wanted illegal immigrants from Mexico who committed crimes to go back.
He also said that a lot of the people that Mexico sends over here, they send rapists and murderers, and maybe some are good people. I mean...
Was he wrong about the fact that we get a lot of crime from Mexico? Was he wrong about that?
For the most part, yeah. I don't think that the majority of illegal immigrants are murderers or rapists. There's no data to back that up. So yes, he was wrong. Some of them are. Some of white people are murderers and racists. Should we deport all white people?
Yes, but those are people that they're part of, if you want to call, they're part of the American family. We can't do anything about them. But why would we import crime? Why would we do that? It doesn't make sense.
We're not talking about
But apparently if you oppose this, you're racist.
We're not talking about importing crime. The fact that you have importing crime as synonymous with Mexicans coming to the United States is a little telling, don't you think?
It has nothing to do with Mexicans. If a bunch of Hungarians came in here committing crime, I would say the fucking same thing, man.
Okay, you saying that it has nothing to do with them being Mexicans, then why is it so important that whites remain the majority in the United States? What is it about being white that's so important?
Look, I'm actually not making the argument that whites should remain the majority in the United States. I'm simply arguing that it's clear that whites are not allowed to speak up against their demographic oblivion. I mean,
it's not oblivion. There is no oblivion. Nobody is walking around killing all the white people.
Says you.
I'm sorry, wait, did I miss the stories where all of these white people are being killed in hordes by Mexicans and black people?
They're not being killed, man, but they're being displaced. I mean, if you...
What do you mean by displaced?
You are the same guy who says that Europeans displaced the Native Americans. That's your argument. That's your go-to argument. Oh, you're not a Native American, then you can never be a true American. But apparently, when other people do it to white Americans, it's okay because fuck white people.
Wait,
it's obvious what you're saying.
No, my original point was that I think it's strange that so many people identify as American when your family typically immigrated from another country. I never spoke to whether or not...
Everybody's from fucking somewhere, man. It doesn't make these things not real. Like,
well, sure, but I kind of agree with what you're saying.
The British people immigrated onto the island at one point before there was anything there. I mean, what is your point?
You're nothing. That's good. You made my point for me. I agree that where you're from doesn't define who you are. That anybody can go to a country and be part of that country. So then, why are we so worried about white displacement?
Because it's real. Do you want me to send you a link? Would you here?
What does white displacement mean?
Here, have a look at this chart here. That's what it looks like. You can show that on the stream if you'd like to. They're going to be, I mean, at this rate, you know, the whites would be a minority by 2042.
Okay, but what I'm asking is, why does it matter if a certain skin color is a minority?
Because you and people of your ilk would freak out had the situation been flipped. Had the situation been whites colonizing a part of when the Chinese did it to
we're
Tibet?
not colonizing anything. These are people legally immigrating, legally
so
belonging.
Why when the Chinese, you know, were trying to colonize Tibet or whatever it was, you know, trying to go into Tibet, why was that, you know, a save Tibet situation? But when
I don't know anything. I don't know about the situation in Tibet and China. I'm talking about the United States of America.
Okay, well, I'm using a metaphor. What do you call it? Allegory, metaphor?
Analogy.
And I mean, sorry, jeez, I'm dumb. I'm using an analogy to try to, you know, give a parallel situation so you can see the hypocrisy.
Wait, what is the hypocrisy? Wait, I don't care about other countries' standards. I'm not concerned with them. There is no hypocrisy between saying Japan can be racist and America can't, because I'm American and I have my American beliefs and Japan has other beliefs and ideas. I understand that. I would never go to Japan and tell them to change the way their country works. It's their country.
Okay, let me ask you something. Do you consider the European colonization of Africa to be a bad thing?
Yeah, that's a very, very complicated.
It's only complicated because it's whites.
No, it's not. It's really complicated because in a lot of ways Africa's been exploited by different imperialist countries, and in other ways Africa has grown a lot in different economies because of their trade with these countries. Like, that's a really, really complicated question. Africa is still lagging behind a lot of the world for a lot of different reasons, but they have been catching up and making great progress over the past 20 years. Like, it has nothing to do with skin color or white people. I mean, you could look at it through that paradigm if you want, but that's a really complicated issue.
I'm just saying, if white people go to South Africa, they colonize there. You know, it's the white people encroaching on the Africans' land, and they should give it back. But
we're not talking about colonizing or imperializing people. We're just talking about immigration in the United States.
What do you call a large number of people from one specific place coming in, setting up their own ethnic enclaves, and then waving their own flag inside of our nation?
What would you call setting up your own ethnic enclaves and waving your own flag? I'm pretty sure we have a lot of Mexicans that come to the United States that are living in the United States that wave American flags and are proud to be American. Like,
yes, of course there are some, but not. There are also large swaths of them who don't feel that way, who want to break parts of America off back into Mexico. So what would you say to those?
Okay, so just to put your argument on paper, you think that there are people that risk rape, murder, and theft, leaving and fleeing Mexico to come to the United States, whose ultimate goal is to secede part of the United States back to the place that they fled from?
You better back off.
I'm sorry, can you say that one more time?
You think that there are people that risk rape, murder, and theft to try to get their families from Mexico to the United States so that ultimately they could get back to the United States just to secede part of it to Mexico. They want to break it off and go back to the land that they...
Man, I'm not going to speculate on why they did what. All I know is what they are doing. And...
Whoa, you just speculated, though. You said that they wanted to...
No, I didn't speculate.
You said they wanted...
Some crap. What do you care? She ain't one of us.
No love for your mayor, Finn. I said let her go.
Anything I can do?
Hancock.
You just say
keep
the word.
letting outsiders walk all over us. One day, there'll be a new mayor.
Come on, man. This is me we're talking about. Let me tell you something. Now, why'd you have to go and say that, huh? Breaking my heart over here. You alright, sister?
It's not every day I get mugged and witness a murder right in front of me.
You obviously haven't been living it up enough, but we won't judge you for that. Good neighbors of the people, for the people. You feel me? Everyone's welcome.
Sounds like anarchy.
The best kind of anarchy. Embrace it, and maybe one day you'll call this little slice of chaos home. So long as you remember who's in charge.
Whoever this Brotherhood of Steel is, I'm not buying that we come in peace malarkey. Ever been to kill or be killed? Some fine-looking weapons. Need a place to stay? Try Hotel Rexford.
Sweet pip,
Well,
sister.
hello.
You hold on to that.
Everything here is guaranteed to injure, maim.
Let's see what you got.
Each weapon test.
Brotherhood of Steel better stay out of Good Neighbor. All I'm saying.
Oh, new face walks into my
Daisy.
Got some good deals. You won't believe what's in the is it food or not section.
Huh?
Hey.
Peace, sis.
Don't mind us, just perusing.
Well, Mr. Valentine, I thought you had forgotten about little me.
May have walked out of the den, Irma, but I'd never walk out on you.
Amari's downstairs, you bitch.
Hey there.
Here for Amari? She's downstairs. Whatever you and Nick are up to, I don't need to know. Just don't let the big metal softy hurt itself, all right?
Dr. Amari?
Yes, I take it this isn't a social call.
Bingo.
Speak up now.
This one's all yours, Nick.
We need a memory dig, Amari, but it's not going to be easy. The perp, Kellogg, is already cold on the floor.
Are you two mad? Putting aside the fact that you're asking me to defile a corpse, you do realize that the memory simulators require intact, living brains to function.
Some expert you are. I knew this was a waste of time.
This dead brain had inside knowledge of the Institute, Amari. The biggest scientific secret of the Commonwealth. You need this, and so do we.
Fine. I'll take a look. But no guarantees. Do you have it with you?
Here's what I could find.
What's this? This isn't a brain. This is... Wait. That's the hippocampus. And this thing attached to it? A neural interface?
Those circuits look awfully familiar.
I'm not surprised. From what I've seen, all Institute technology has a similar architecture.
Go on, Doctor.
Mr. Valentine is an older generation synth. But Institute technology being what it is, the brain implant could fit him. But that's an incredible risk to take. We're talking about wiring something to his brain.
Don't worry about me, Amari. I'm well past the warranty date anyway.
Hey, I appreciate this, Nick.
You can thank me when we've found your son. All right, let's do this.
Whenever you're ready, Mr. Valentine, just sit down.
If I start cackling like an old grizzled mercenary, pull me out, okay?
Let's see here. I need you to keep talking to me, Mr. Valentine. Any slight change in your cognitive functions could be dire. Are you feeling any different?
There's a lot of flashes. Static. I can't make sense of any of it, Doc.
That's what I was afraid of. The mnemonic impressions are encoded. It appears the Institute has one last failsafe. There's a lock on the memories in the implant.
More problems? Seriously?
It's not like anyone has ever done this before. You try making a secret technology work across hardware generations out of spare parts. Just let me think. The encryption is probably meant to keep a single mind from accessing the data. So what if we use two? We load both you and Mr. Valentine into the memory loungers. Run your cognitive functions in parallel. He'll act as a host, while your consciousness drives through whatever memories we can find.
All right, let's get started.
Just sit down over there, and keep your fingers crossed.
See you on the other side.
Ah, what were you hiding? This thing's got stims in it.
Initiating brainwave migration between the transplant and the host. Mnemonic activity coming from the transplant. It's degenerated, but it's there. We're going to load you into the strongest memories we can find. They might not be stable. Just hold on. Can you hear me? Ah, good. The simulation appears to be working, although the memories are quite fragmentary. I'll try to step you through the intact memories and hope we find one that gives us some clue to the Institute's location. There. This is the earliest intact memory I can find. Remember, you are experiencing these memories as Kellogg. This may prove
Mom knew how it
disorienting at
was.
first.
She wasn't soft, but she loved me in her way. And she protected me from Dad. That cost her more than a few beatings. I never knew what happened to her after I left. I didn't want to know. Not then. I was such a dummy back then. What did I know about how the world worked?
This doesn't seem
I
to be
think
what
now
we're
she
looking
wanted me to
for.
kill him. I should
There
have.
appears to be another
Instead,
intact memory
I ended up
close
running
to you
away.
in temporal sequence.
I told my...
There. Try that one.
The thing about happiness is you only know you had it when it's gone. I mean, you may think to yourself that you're happy, but you don't really believe it. You focus on the petty bullshit or next job or whatever. It's only looking back, by comparison with what comes after, that you really understand that's what happiness felt like. It's gonna be fine. You'll see. I was the worst thing that ever happened to her. If she'd never met me, she'd have stayed in the hub, maybe hooked up with someone who didn't kill people for a living. Probably been happier than she was with me. Almost certainly lived longer.
But we don't know anybody here. And now, with the baby?
Come on, Sarah, you've got to give it a chance. I finally got steady work with a good outfit. Nothing like that in the NCR these days.
No, I'm not saying this was a mistake. I'm just... Are you sure these guys know what they're doing? They seem kind of green.
I know. I was the worst thing that ever happened. That's where I come in. Just wait.
Let's keep looking. I'll connect you to the next intact memory.
How did you think this was gonna end, Kellogg? You thought you could just fuck with us, and we wouldn't fuck with you? Just so you know, they died like dogs. And you weren't there to help them.
I found another memory to try. I'll connect you.
Mind if we sit down? Suit yourself. There's always someone who wanted someone else dead. Sometimes just roughed up, but dead was usually what they wanted. Sometimes they thought they could cheat me. That was usually only when I first arrived somewhere. Didn't matter to me. They just took it as part of the job. Little extra thrown in for free. I always got paid in the end. One way or another. I didn't care where I was going. Ended up mostly wandering east. Getting as far away from San Francisco as I could, maybe.
So, I hear you'll take care of people's problems. Is that right?
If you pay me.
Oh, we'll pay you. And, you'll do this all by yourself?
That's right.
We pay you when the job's done. Is that okay?
That's the way you want to do it? So who do you want dead?
Well, it's like this. There's his family. Lives down the creek a ways.
Well, we seem to be getting closer. Try this next one.
Mr. Kellogg, I'm glad you decided to meet with me.
So, you're with the Institute. I wanted to see for myself if you really existed.
We do, as you can see.
What do you want?
It's come to my attention that you've been rather disruptive of our operation.
I finally ended up in the Commonwealth. I kinda ran out of road. Plus, I'd come to terms with life. I wasn't gonna be stupid enough to get mixed up with caring about other people again. It was just me against the world. And the world had it coming. I finally ended up in the Commonwealth.
This must stop.
I do what people pay me to do. If that's a problem for you, I could see only one way out.
And what's that, Mr. Kellogg?
If I'm working for you, there's no more problem. From what I hear, you can afford me.
I don't think you fully understand the situation you're in.
I think I do.
Very well. B-748. Initiate.
System off.
Impressive. We may have something to talk about after all.
Getting warmer. One of these has got to tell us something. We're running out of brain here. There's one that looks mostly intact. Connecting now.
Manual override initiated. Cryogenic stasis suspended.
I was now the Institute's main operator in the Commonwealth. If they needed something done, they came to me. Wasn't usual for anybody from the Institute to come along on a mission, so this one stood out. They didn't know then who it was we were grabbing from the vault. Of course, neither did they. Not really.
Vault computers are still...
I was now the Institute's...
That's good. Checking through the logs. Hopefully it's all...
Just find it.
Pod C6. Down the hall near the end.
This is the one. Here.
Open it.
Is it over?
Almost. Everything's gonna be fine.
Come here.
No.
Come here, baby.
No. I got him.
Let the boy go. I'm only gonna tell you once.
I'm not giving you Sean.
God damn it. Get the kid out of here and let's go. At least we still have the backup. Even then, I knew it was a mistake leaving her alive. I understood that kind of revenge. No one better. But I was cocky enough to assume I could handle some soft, pre-war vault dweller, even if she somehow got thawed out. At least I know those Institute bastards will soon get what's coming to them, too. I was now the Institute's main...
Cryogenic sequence reinitialized.
What's the holdup?
I'm almost finished, Kellogg. I just need to confirm. Come on. All right, we're good.
I'm sorry you had to go through that again. I found another intact memory. Whenever you're ready. Is that your son? This appears to be a very recent memory. So, good news, I think.
This whole setup in Diamond City was part of some elaborate plan of the old man's. Seems obvious now that we were bait for our friend from the vault. Timing couldn't have been an accident. It's not how the old man works. I wonder if he outsmarted me in the end. Another loose end tied up.
Kellogg.
It's okay. One of these days you're gonna get your head blown off just barging in here like that. This whole setup in Diamond City was part...
Minimizing my exposure to civilians is a priority.
Forget I said anything. So what's the big crisis that... This whole setup in...
New orders for you. One of our scientists has left the Institute.
Left? As in...
He's gone rogue. Name's Dr. Brian Virgil. We know he's hiding somewhere in the glowing sea. Here's his file.
Wow. Some heads are gonna roll for this. Capture and return, or just elimination?
Elimination. He was working on a highly classified program.
No kidding. This whole setup in Diamond City was part... The new breed of synths. This whole setup in Diamond City... This whole setup in Diamond City was part... One of the top bioscience boys? Damn. So, I guess you're taking the kid back with you.
Affirmative. Your only mission is to locate and eliminate Virgil.
You're taking me home to my father?
Yes. Stand next to me and hold still.
Okay.
X688, ready to relay with Sean.
His whole setup and...
Bye, Mr. Kellogg. I hope I see you again soon.
Bye.
Teleportation. Now it all makes sense. Nobody's found the entrance to the Institute because there is no entrance. Let me pull you out of there as soon as you're ready. Slow movements, okay? I don't know what kind of side effects the procedure might have had. No one's ever done this before. How do you feel?
Amari.
Let's start over. How are you feeling?
I'm okay, Doctor. Thank you.
That's good. But I want you to keep monitoring yourself. We have to be sure there's no long-term damage. Are you ready to talk about what happened in there?
You were along for the ride, weren't you? You saw what I saw.
Yes, but it's important we review everything together, in case either of us missed anything.
There's more than one person who knows about the Institute. Virgil, that scientist who escaped.
I didn't know Institute scientists could defect. This changes everything. He could answer all sorts of questions. Where did the memory say he was? The glowing sea? That can't be right. No one would risk going there, not even to hide.
That's why he's there. To make the Institute think twice about following him.
That must be it. He's using the radiation in the glowing sea like a shield, or a cloak, a way to throw them off and be at an advantage. If Virgil found a way to survive there, you'll have to do the same. If you're going to follow him.
I'll find a way to get through the rads. Don't worry.
Good luck, and be safe. By the way, I unplugged Mr. Valentine first. Removed the implant while you were waking up. He's waiting for you upstairs.
Dr. Amari?
Be careful of the radiation. The glowing sea isn't a place to be caught unprepared.
Nick.
Hope you got what you were looking for inside my head. That was right. I should have killed you when you were on ice.
Kellogg. Is that you?
What? What are you talking about?
You sounded like Kellogg just then.
Did I? Huh. Mari said there might be some mnemonic impressions left over. Anyway, I feel fine, so let's get going. Or I could head back to Diamond City, since you've got company already.
Let's get going, Nick.
Been one heck of a ride so far. Let's see where it takes us next.
Wanted to come here and break off. You know, where is these movements of Mexicans trying to get what, Texas to go back to Mexico? What?
When you have these illegals coming up and getting so bold to say, "Try deporting me, Trump," you know, that's a sign of a problem. By the way, it's inarguable that the locations from where people have immigrated has changed. Up until, I believe it was 1965, it was all Europeans, and now most of it is from Mexico. And by the way, you know, they're even going into, I believe, the African Americans areas and pushing them out too. So it's not just white Americans that are affected by this kind of thing.
I'm not
so
affected. I don't understand what you. This is what I'm trying to get back to the original question. What do you mean by affected? What's so bad about a certain type of people immigrating to a country? Like, back to the original question. Why does it matter if white people become the minority in the United States? Why is that a big deal?
Man, come on. Come on, man. I mean, look, it shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter. That's how people work. That's how all
No,
peoples
it's not.
operate.
That's not true. Maybe that's how racists work. This is where the word comes from. Well, I'm trying to figure out. I'm trying to get you to tell me what, because that's all I can go on right now, because you're not giving me more. I'm asking you, why does it matter if white people are the minority in the United States? And you keep like kind of laughing and go like, well, is it because brown people are worse than white people?
No, of course it's not because brown people are worse. It's a matter of integration. If they immigrate, they need to integrate. But also, we don't need to take immigrants from incompatible places. It doesn't make any sense.
But that's the beautiful thing about America, dog. There is no incompatible place that people can't come from.
Oh my God, man. Okay, well, I mean, if that's...
I mean, we're the most diverse country on the planet, dude. Like, you can't argue with that. We're also arguably the most successful country on the planet, at least in terms of overall size of the economy, although we definitely have problems. We are definitely the most influential country on the planet. I mean, when we are the most diverse country on the planet. Like, these are inarguable. Why are you laughing? Like, oh, well, are we really? Like, no, it's like, you're acting like we're like 99% majority whites, and now we've got like a little bit bogging us down. Like, that's absolutely not true. Like,
the country was something like 92% white in 1950. It's changed. Now it's about 60% non-Hispanic white, I believe. These are epic demographic changes, unlike what I don't know if it's ever been seen in history. Maybe in some invasion in the 1500s. But look, these people see themselves, I'm assuming, as Mexican. I don't know that they come here and the soil magically turns them into Thomas Jefferson's direct descendant. So why is it that white people, especially white Americans, resisting their own displacement is racist?
Because you're talking about displacement. I'm trying to figure out what the displacement is. Nobody is killing white people. Nobody is moving white people out.
It's a soft displacement. Dude, okay, and when they become the majority, they will vote in their own interests. They won't vote in white Americans' interests. So,
what is
white
a white
people have
American?
a legitimate...
Wait, what is a white American interest? Can you give me an example of like white American legislation? A white American...
My friend, there is a clear divide in the way that people think. White people tend towards the libertarian side of things, and at least the first generation Mexicans vote heavily in
how do
terms of
white
government
people?
handouts.
If that was true, then why are red states the one that leech all of the federal money? Then, if red people believe
I don't know
Republicans,
that that's true.
It is true. It's absolutely true.
Well, if that fact is true, I need to look into it. I don't know about that.
Do you think that like a country like, do you think that a state like California is taking more federal aid than it's getting back in taxes? Red states absolutely leech money off of the federal budget, and blue states are typically the ones that contribute to it. And even within red states, blue cities are typically the ones contributing the vast majority of the budget and money compared to the red areas. So I don't understand.
What state is it that leeches? Are you talking about southern states or something like this?
Sure. Yeah, the red states typically. The Alabama is the Louisiana is the.
I mean, these states have high non-white populations that I believe. I mean, I don't want to get into. I don't want to.
well, look at what you're saying. You're saying these states have high non-white populations.
Yeah.
Why do they vote Republican? I thought you said these people have voted Democrat.
They do.
Okay, so they've got enough non-white people to vote because they vote Republican.
That are on. I believe those states have a lot on welfare, but I don't know this for sure, so I don't want to. I don't really know about this one. I will defer this one to you. I don't know.
Okay, but then you said earlier that most of the Republicans were libertarians or whatever. I just seemed like a strange...
No. We see a different voting pattern. At least look. Even if it doesn't have to do with race, even if it doesn't have to do with national origin, even if it didn't have to do with these things, we see a discrepancy in the voting patterns between the different groups in America. So when you see that it becomes stacked against the majority population who is discouraged from voting in their own interest. They're discouraged.
What does that mean? I'm trying to figure out what does it mean. What does it mean to vote against your own interest? What are white interests that get voted against?
I don't know what reality you're living in, man. I mean, when the news is telling you that a vote for Donald Trump is a racist vote, okay, and Donald Trump, all that he's saying is perhaps maybe we should keep
Wait,
America
hold
the
on.
way it was.
So well, first, that's because it's an incredibly stupid statement to make. Most of what
Okay,
Donald
it
Trump
says you.
Well, okay, when you say make America great again, what time period are you referring to that you want to return America to?
I don't think that this is a really silly question. I mean,
Well, wait, you just said he wants to make America great again. He wants to go back to keeping America great. What time period are you talking about?
I said preserve. I didn't say go back.
Wait, preserve as it is now? Because I thought you said there weren't enough white people now. Or do you mean like just exactly right now?
You said that. I didn't say that. I
You
never
said that whites
any...
were becoming a minority. You said that it wasn't
They
good.
are becoming a minority. So listen, if the people can't integrate in and feel as if they are one people and truly, by the way, now this whole melting pot thing, that would require that they, become part of the greater whole and don't form enclaves, because then you get balkanization. You don't get this utopian melting pot. So.
Yeah, but in the United States, it seems like we've done a pretty good job of melting a lot of different cultures together, no?
It could have been worse, but it's not perfect.
I mean, I can go down the street and I can eat 50 different million types of food. I can turn on my radio and hear music from 50 million different types of culture. I could turn on the TV and see 50 million different things. I'm sure that if I walk around my house, I've got things built in Mexico, built in China. You're talking to me on a computer, so you've got, innovation from California that has a lot of East Asian workers in the tech field working there that have shipped their parts over from China, who probably drive to work on cars built from parts that are shipped in from Mexico. Like, I mean, what do you mean it doesn't work? Like, I don't. What are you seeing? I'm trying to understand your worldview. Like, what are you watching that's showing that like America is falling apart and all of these people are killing themselves and murdering white people and everything is going to shit? Like, what are you seeing that shows you
My
this?
friend, I don't know that you. I feel like these are words you're putting in my mouth. I never
Well,
said.
no,
white
I'm trying to understand.
There is.
Like,
there
where
is
is
an
it coming
absolute.
from?
There is an absolute disproportionate amount of crime committed to whites by non-whites. That's there's no arguing that. That's just FBI statistics. So in that sense, you could say, well, why shouldn't the white people be able to address this? But they're not allowed to, because they're called racist by people like you.
If you wanted to fix crime in the United States, the best way to do it would be to deport all of the poor people, because poor whites commit a lot of crime too, disproportionately compared to wealthier whites.
That's just not true. But okay,
wait,
you
hold
can
on,
say that if you want to.
wait. You don't think that
Well,
poverty...
yeah, of course. Well, yes. In relative
terms,
to
yes.
in relative to wealthy whites, yes.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you think that poor blacks probably commit more crime relative to wealthier black people?
They do. Wealthy blacks also commit more crime than poor whites. That's a fact.
Wait, what?
Yeah, look it up. Give me a sec. I gotta get water.
Does anybody have a source for that? Fuck. When people make extreme claims, I don't even know how to... Fuck.
It's true, man.
I've never heard that in my life, dude. I've never seen that ever posted. I'll have to look for it later. I see an article written that says poor white kids are less likely to go to prison than rich black kids, but I'm pretty sure this is...
says who? That's just some conjecture.
I mean, what you just said was conjecture.
That implies that the court system is somehow racist.
The court system disproportionately, even when controlling for socioeconomic factors, sentences black people typically for harsher sentences compared to white people, even when you control for the crimes. Yeah, that's absolutely true.
You're saying, I mean, this is just ridiculous. That they're going to sentence. I don't subscribe to that.
I mean that. I mean,
that's the whole court system is biased, is racist. That's the same thing. So let me ask you this. So on one end you're saying race doesn't matter. On the other end you're saying race does matter. So which is it? People like you can never say, because you just want to.
Wait, hold on. I'm saying that it would be nice if race didn't matter. Is been essentially my entire argument.
Okay, but it would be nice if a lot of things were.
Okay, you're the one making the argument
that... That's why I had $1 billion.
You're the one making the argument that race is literally paramount, that it is the most important thing.
It is not the most important thing, but why is it so bad for... You're acting like the white people would just want to, purge the lands or something. It's not true. Just why
No, I'm not talking about... I'm just... Back to my question that I keep trying to get an answer. I just don't understand why it's so bad if white people become a minority. Why is that such a horrible thing?
Nobody wants to become a minority in their own country, man.
Why?
No.
Why does it matter? I don't consider myself
Because
a minority because
I
I'm an
mean,
American, and everyone around me is an American. Why does it matter if they're white or brown or black?
Well, that's not. I don't think that's how. I don't know how to answer this.
Like, it blows my mind.
Why is it bad? Why is it bad on the flip side? Why is it bad if they remain a majority? Like, why?
Because you're talking about excluding potential labor,
I am
potential
not talking
talent.
about excluding.
When you talk about keeping whites the majority, the only way that you're doing that is by what? Barring immigration from people that are brown? That's the only way you would do it, right?
No, look.
Or how else would you do it then?
I mean, so basically, you're saying that it sounds like you think the end game is that whites should become a minority.
No, I think that the end game is let people do what the fuck they want. We keep letting people immigrate. I mean, whatever.
So
whatever
why
happens.
you are constantly projecting this ideology of nonstop immigration from, say, the third world? What if Americans of any color, by the way, not just white? I should specify, it's not just white people that feel this way. You think a Mexican who comes from Mexico probably wants to move to America, not move back to Mexico. You understand?
Sure.
So, it's in literally everyone's best interest. That's what I'm trying to say.
Wait, I don't understand the sequitur. What do you mean? A person from Mexico wants to?
What I'm saying is, let's just say that we admit a Mexican immigrant to the country. Now, does that Mexican immigrant, he's probably leaving Mexico because he wants to move to America, which is, in his eyes, probably a better country, let's admit. But if swaths of illegal immigrants pour across the border, we can't do anything about it under pain of being called racists. When that Mexican immigrant steps into America and sees that nothing's changed because the Mexicans have brought their Mexican culture with them, he says, "What the heck? What did I spend 3 years trying to get, my citizenship for this?" Or what? I don't know how it works.
So is the argument that Mexicans immigrating to the United States are going to turn it into Mexico?
Yeah, yes.
If they were happy with Mexico, why would they come to the United States?
Because the better handouts. A lot of them are on welfare, you understand.
Have you ever in your entire life drove through a neighborhood where there are construction crews working or where you see people outside working? If you were to talk to anybody in manual labor, you would never hear the argument passed around that Mexicans are lazy and on welfare. They do some of the toughest jobs available in this country.
Yeah, dude, you're just virtue signaling. Man, I get it.
How am I
Not all
virtue signaling? What are you talking about?
Not all Mexicans are going to go on welfare. I understand that, but a lot of them are going to commit crimes. This El Salvadorians are going to create the MS-13 gangs. What about these guys? Huh? You just want to let these guys walk over the border?
Sure, and white people can do it too. That's why you have law enforcement. That's why you
They sure do, but their crime rates appear to be lower, and I don't know.
But that's not true. Immigration isn't even a predictor of crime in the United States. Things like level of education, whether or not you're in a single-parent household, your socioeconomic position, these are all much greater indicators of crime than whether or not you're an immigrant. Like, why not work on these things rather than say, well, no immigration because some of them are criminals? Like, that just seems silly. Why would you hurt your entire country doing that?
What I'm saying is, okay, your argument is, by the way, a lot of these people come to make money, send it back, and then go back. That's just true. So they have no long-term investment in this country, even though, apparently we like to think of ourselves as the all-amazing first world United States, but a lot of them do have the interest just to come here for what money they can make or get and then take it back. But that aside, shit, what was the last thing you said?
I don't understand if you just want to, like, block off all Mexicans from coming to the United States, or...
No. What I'm saying is the argument here is that we need an influx of immigrants, because if we don't, the white they always say this, the white Americans, they do the jobs the white Americans don't want to do. That's not true. They just get pushed out because they flood the job market and they're willing to work for less because it's a higher standard compared to where they came from, and they lower the
Okay, hold on. Do you consider yourself a libertarian? Do you believe in the free market and all of that?
I wouldn't consider myself a libertarian, but I think some of their ideas are good.
Like which ideas? Do you think that, like, free market and all of that is a good thing?
Of course, but I don't think all people are interested in the free market.
Okay, so then why are you so opposed to expanding the pool of the supply of labor to companies in the United States? I don't understand. You're talking about bringing in workers to the United States to help grow the overall economy, right? Well, I don't understand how this is a bad thing. Are you, like, from an economic point of view, is that the argument you're making?
I'm saying that when you bring in a bunch of workers who are willing to work for less, you're going to lower the standards of the living standards of the entire country. And this argument
that's not how living standards work. If you bring in people that are willing to work for less, okay, that means that the supply of the cost that goes into making the product has dropped as well. The cost of goods or whatever. So you can also sell products for cheaper as well. It's why we get cheap shit from China and Mexico and whatnot. If you brought in a bunch of cheap immigrant labor to create some product, then the cost of that product will get cheaper. No, doesn't that help increase the standards of living as well?
Yeah, you can sell out your society for a quick buck if that's what you're saying. Yeah, no, but there's.
It's not. So, if you want to buy an iPhone for $3,000?
Look, I don't think mass consumerism is the answer to our problems. It's obviously.
So you think lowering the standard of living for everybody is the answer to our problems? We should make everything more expensive again?
No, I don't think it's not that. It's just that I think that there is something to be said for preserving a culture, giving a nation a continuity. These are legitimate.
Yeah, but we have that. We're American. That's our continuity. That's our culture. It has nothing to do with being majority white.
You can say that, but these days, the Confederate flag has been banned. They're burning American flags in the streets. I don't know. It's a changing nation, and I do think that immigration policies that haven't been the smartest are partly to blame for that.
I guess, like, I just don't understand how you think that, like, being white is such an important part of being an American when you're
I don't.
Hungarian.
I'm not even fully fucking white.
Then why are you so worried about whites not being a minority in the United States or whatever?
It's a principle. Why is it bad that they remain a majority then?
Because I've already said why. Because you're talking about restricting immigration from a ton of different areas in order to.
Why not? Why do we have to take immigration from all these areas?
Because it helps grow the size of the economy and it brings talent in from other areas to continue to benefit the entire country.
It benefits the global elites. That's the only people it benefits.
Dude,
it doesn't
you make like millions of dollars making YouTube videos. You don't count as a global elite. What are you talking? Are you like the working man now? What, the average middle lower class citizen has benefited more from globalization than any other person. Poor people have cell phones with amazing technology in them because they're manufactured in China. Everybody in the United States can afford a car because we get cheap manufacturing from Mexico. Like, what do you mean the global elites are causing immigration? Like, that's your defense?
No, I'm just saying I don't see how this. By the way, look. We're arguing in gigantic generalizations. I understand that I'm putting.
We can argue specifics about anything if you want. I mean, I know all the specifics.
No. That's not. What I'm saying is, like, of course, there's going to be some real standout immigrants from these places. I'm just talking about the principle of not being displaced.
But you still haven't explained to me the principle. Why is it so bad that white people become the minority? I don't understand the principle. Why is it so bad?
Listen. This is just not how things work in reality. Like,
what does that mean?
What it means is that people are tribal. If you look at Yugoslavia, that's a nation was a nation of all white people, and it balkanized and it broke up in a horrific war of sorts into, what is it, Croatia?
I'm not talking about the Balkans. I'm talking about the United States of America. Go to Las Vegas. Go to any place with a ton of people, a big city. You'll find people of different races, of different religions, working together, coexisting together perfectly peacefully. Like, you're acting like this never happens, and it's like inevitable that some massive civil war will always break out. It seems like the only way it would happen is if everybody believed what you believed, and that you have to keep majority white status, otherwise, like, shit is gonna go to hell. I don't understand.
Listen. Even though the mantra has, I mean, you're just arguing based off the old paradigm, which is that if you
I'm arguing based on historical data.
I don't think you're arguing off data, because if you're arguing off data, you wouldn't be saying the things you're saying.
Wait, what have I said that you think is wrong? Factually.
I mean, who in Europe is causing riots?
I'm not talking about Europe. I'm talking about the United States.
It all is interconnected, dude, because Europeans are the ones who founded this country, and they came from Europe, and Europe is having similar problems. So when you look at the parallels, you can understand. I don't even know what you mean by historical data. There's never been anything like this.
I'm just curious what you said, what I've said that you think is factually incorrect.
You're just deflecting
I haven't deflected anything. You're the one that's hopping from topic to topic.
Every time I bring up Europe, you say I'm not talking about Europe. But if
because
you're talking...
the things that you're saying about Europe are really misinformed, and I don't want to jump into like a massive discussion on individual. You can't even group these countries together. The problems that Germany is facing is going to be much different than the problems Sweden is facing. The problems in Sweden are going to be way different than the problems in the United Kingdom, who was part of the EU, who had different agreements than these other countries part of it.
What's interesting, you're right. They would be facing different problems, it would seem, but they're all facing a very similar problem, which leads us to believe maybe there's a pattern here. That's what I'm saying.
What's the pattern?
The pattern is that when you have mass immigration from countries that don't value liberalism and don't value equality between the sexes in the same way that Western countries do, for whatever reason, they will affect the overall culture. And that's what's happening right now in the West. And how many terrorist attacks are there in Japan?
If that was happening in the West, then why are we at it? Why do we have more rights for different types of minority groups than have ever existed in all of human history across the West?
Because, you just proved my point. Because the Western countries have incredibly liberal values and do not value
and they've held
discrimination.
on to those liberal values even though all these brown people are moving in. Even
And
though
who
we're getting
do you think is going to uphold those values?
the people that immigrate here, that are raised here, that believe in the same values that we do. Do you think that every Mexican in the United States? It seems so, because they're not all vote. I don't see Mexicans outside protesting abortions. That seems to be a white Christian thing. I don't see Mexicans outside, fucking protesting against gay rights. That seems to be a white Christian thing. Where are all of these Mexican groups protesting against civil rights and whatnot? I don't see this happening.
Now, there are a small minority of Christians who might do that, but we're talking...
If you talk about anti-abortion rights in the United States, do you think it is a minority of Christians? Where do you think the majority of these people come from?
Muslims, for instance.
You think that Muslims are the main opposition to pro-choice women's rights or whatever in the United States?
No, not in the United States, because there aren't that many of them here, but there are a ton in Europe, which is the crisis they're facing now. And these people
I'm not talking about Europe, I'm talking about the United States.
Okay, but Europe and the United States are interconnected in the same thing.
But they're not. They're very, very, very different places. We have very different problems. Extremely different. Yes.
Oh, wow, very different.
You know that in Europe, you know that if you go to Europe, there's no such thing as white people, right? You know nobody says that, right?
Making everyone a bit
I understand
cranky.
that Europeans see each other as different groups of Europeans, but at the end of the day, they understand each other as Europeans. And they know
that like even people who live in the United Kingdom don't all see themselves as being like...
I'm aware that Europeans see each other differently, and it's an American thing to brand all Europeans white. I understand that, but that just proves the tribalism thing. It's real.
But it's not. It's obviously not, because if you go to the United States, all the white people do see themselves as similar. So obviously the tribalism is they've gotten over that part there.
First of all...
Also, no European at the end of the day. Do you ever see yourself as a North American? Do you think Americans ever, at the end of the day, like, I feel like a North American at the end of the day? Like, I'm the same as a Canadian and a Mexican.
I do believe that we are different from Mexico, but very similar to Canada. And
because we're whiter?
No, because our countries derive from the same culture and had the same similar founding stock, at least. But I will say, that's a big reason why all these. By the way, Europe and America, it's not different. Even though you say it's different, it's not.
What do you think is similar? It's totally different. We're incomparable places, dude. The United States is a massive country that has a massive border to the south of an unstable country. It's way different than, say, the United Kingdom, right? Who wasn't even having serious immigration issues, whose entire economy in place in the EU makes them a very special country, which is much different than the country of Germany, which has had a massive budget surplus year after year after year, even after taking in fucking 1 million fucking refugees, which is massively different than any of the Nordic countries, than Sweden, Finland, Norway. All of these places are all very different. It's a very, I'm not trying to be mean, but it's a very American thing to say all of these European countries have the same problem. That's so not true. The issues that white people face in fucking Northern Ireland is going to be way different than the difference between Southern and Northern Italians. All of these problems are massively different. You can't group all of Europe's problems in together and say they're the same thing as all of America.
They're different, but when you compare cyan and deep blue next to red, the bluish colors tend to look a little bit more similar, don't they? So my point is that they're all facing similar problems, coming from a similar part of the world. What does that tell you?
I don't think they're facing similar. This is why I didn't want to
get into
Europe.
Informed.
I mean.
And the people in America want to stop that from happening. Now, Hillary Clinton wanted to speed up the refugees coming here. And of course, that sounds good to people to say, of course, you know, who doesn't want to take refugees? It's a great humanitarian thing to do. But at what cost? You know, are
At
these
what cost, dude? How many refugees have committed crimes in the United States? Do you know how many?
Well, we don't have the same migrant crisis as they do in Europe because they share
because
a
we're
land.
completely different countries with completely different problems. Do you know how many refugees have committed crimes in the United States?
Ay. You are impossible, man. Dude,
because I know the data. Because two people.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do. Because two refugees in the United States were arrested for potentially funneling money to people in Iraq out of the 800,000 that have brought in. I know the numbers, dude. That's why it's frustrating to argue with somebody that wants to speak in generalities. Like, because you have this very strange, bizarre worldview that everything is falling apart, that everybody experiences the same problems, when that's completely not true. That's the narrative being sold to you by people like Breitbart, by people like the Spencer dude, by people I don't understand. But so I'm trying to get a feel of your worldview, but you can't give me like any specific examples or facts or figures. So like it's really hard to.
I am giving you an example. I've given you example after example.
Wait, what examples?
White countries that are experiencing it is basically in white countries, historically white countries, it's seen as a moral imperative that whites don't resist their own displacement. If they resist it, they're racist. That is what I'm talking about. You can see this in every white country on planet Earth.
I don't understand. But again, going back to the central question, you can't tell me what's so bad about white people becoming the minority. You still haven't answered that question.
I have answered it a million times. No people wants to become a minority in their own country if they don't have to. They shouldn't do it.
Okay, but the people of America aren't.
What does it do to look nice, to be nice? What is your argument that it
I guess when I look at what it means to be an American, being white doesn't seem to be part of that definition. So when you say to become a minority, I don't understand this massive division on racial lines. Like, I have to have this many white people in here. If there are too many blacks or browns, it makes me very uncomfortable. Like that, I thought we were all Americans. I don't understand where this white, black, brown thing comes from.
I mean, I'm inclined to agree with you. That is how we should see each other as Americans. I do agree that. But also, we're dealing with something that's not that. We're dealing with a political paradigm, or we were at least, we still are. The status quo thinks that the only logical conclusion to the country to atone for the sins of the white past is to keep letting in people from the third world until white people are a minority. And that's what's happening. So if you can deny it all you want, but that's what's happening.
Why are places like California that deal with more immigration than I think any other even individual country in the world aside from Russia? So why is California the strongest economy in the United States when they have the most Mexican immigrants?
Because
shouldn't this state be a shithole?
Because if you're talking about Los Angeles or Silicon Valley,
I'm talking about the state of California. Why is the state of California the sixth strongest economy in the world when they deal with more Mexican immigrants than any other state? How is this possible?
Man, I because all the industry is there. I don't know. What's your point?
Maybe the supply of labor has helped the state grow a little bit. Maybe other people are able to take up complementary positions. Maybe every single economist agrees that immigration grows an economy for everybody. That more people.
I don't know if every single economist.
Pretty much every single economist, even the main leading people who are on the immigration side, more or less agree with that, right? Borjas is the leading economist who argues for less immigration in the United States, and even he acknowledges that.
And every single pollster said Hillary Clinton was going to win.
Do you think that pollsters are of the same academic credence as an academic analysis of an economic situation? Do you think that's a fair comparison?
Yeah. We're living in a political paradigm that values appearances over. Of course, these people are going to say that because they don't want the shitstorm.
Commonwealth weaponry.
Wait, of course, people are going to say what? That that California's economy is huge, or
no? They're going to say things like, "Of course, immigration is wonderful. Diversity is our strength." You don't say these buzzwords.
How do you think you grow an economy if the population begins to die off? Where do you get new workers from?
Why does an economy have to keep growing forever?
Because that's what our entire economy is based off of, is perpetual growth. I mean, would you be happy if the GDP growth was zero or started to dip into the negatives? Is that a positive thing?
People don't need gadgets all the time.